through your postpartum, okay? And so a lot of times when we hear about mental health, we automatically think postpartum depression. But there are other things that also affect moms in their prenatal period as well as in their postpartum. And as Mr. James mentioned before, mental health issues can also affect the fathers as well and the entire family. So to really kick off this conversation, I wanted to first share with you why I got into this space, and then I'm going to open it up to the panelists to also share their why they got into this space, and then we'll kick off the conversation with statistics in the state of Georgia and why this is important to the conversation. I've been a holistic wellness practitioner for the last 5 years. I got into this practice because I've always had a love for community and community health and wellness. All the way back in 2000, I worked for the American Cancer Society as a cancer control specialist. And I learned very early on that African Americans have a higher health disparity of many, many health issues. And because of that, I was like, what? What do we do to prevent these things? We know that hospitals are always medicating, right? And we know there's a whole lot of money being circulated into our community, but we're really not seeing a decline in some of these disparities, particularly in the African American community. And so that's where my journey began. In 2020, my oldest daughter got pregnant. And in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of a world crisis, I started to see very early on, although she had been displaying some mental health issues prior to the pregnancy, it was heightened during her pregnancy, very heightened. And then in her postpartum period, things got even worse, okay? And so because of that experience, I decided to niche down my practice and focus on maternal health. Because I said, if my daughter is experiencing this, there's gotta be other daughters. So I began to do my research and I began to learn about things that were happening in our community, again, full circle moment. And I decided to focus my attention on maternal mental health. And so that's my why today. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm in this space. My grandson is Cree. That's the one I'm pushing in the stroller. He's the reason that I am championing this cause today. And I hope that you all learn a lot from our conversation today. All right? So Monique, tell us why you decided to join the conversation.
Absolutely. Can you guys hear me? Okay, great. So for me, this has been a very personal journey. I was told in my 20s that I couldn't have children. And the concept of defining myself as a woman with or without motherhood was a real challenge for me. And looking at the struggles that Black women especially have in defining themselves and defining motherhood for themselves is a very charged conversation. And it took me quite a while and 4 miscarriages and difficult births eventually to really get to a place where I had really progressed in my own journey, and to be able to work with other women who were in the midst of those struggles has been an integral part of the work that I do. I work with a lot of people who have had traumas around their motherhood story, traumas around their birth experience, and then traumas around the bonding and mothering process immediately after birth. So I, again, took my own experience as well as a whole lot of research and a whole lot of learning and applied that to helping other women.
Thank you so much. And you, beautiful, tell us your why. Why did you agree to do the maternal health panel today?
So first want to say, if my voice cracks, I want to apologize. I'm literally just getting over laryngitis the last few days. But the reason I wanted to do this discussion is because I dealt with a lot when I had my daughter. I only have one daughter, but she's 17. I had her when I was 19. So dealing with all the things I dealt with, even though I was out of high school, I still was a teen mom. You know, seeing all my friends going off to college and I was stuck at home being a mom, becoming a mom, and it was a different world for me. So I do the whole mental health thing because I want people to avoid what I went through. Like, that's my number one niche when it comes to why I do what I do. Of course, my focus is women, of course, because it's a scientific fact that women deal with mental health totally on a different spectrum than men. because we deal with more than men do when it comes to our daily lives. So I'm for sure that when it comes to our, health as being a mom, becoming a mom for the first time, second time, or third time, it's extremely different than your mental health before you became a mother. So there's different things that, the conversation changes when you go to the doctor or when you're pregnant. So the conversation has to change if you're in therapy when before you were a mom and now you're a mom, the conversation changes. So it's extremely important that we have these conversations and we give out the right information and resources to women that are becoming moms for the first time or the second time or are planning to become a mom.
Thank you so much. So I want to start off with this statistic. I want to start our conversation off with this statistic. And let me know by show of hands if you've heard of this. African American women are at the greatest risk of maternal mortality in the United States, with the state of Georgia being the second highest of the state in the country, second to Louisiana. According to data from the CDC, women in Georgia are twice as likely to die from pregnancy-related and pregnancy-associated causes. This data accounts for deaths throughout pregnancy and up to 1 year postpartum. Of all of the causes of pregnancy-related deaths, mental health conditions is listed as the second leading next to hemorrhage. How many of you all have heard of that? And let me tell you why. Deaths classified as due to a mental health condition when the underlying cause of death was depressive disorder, anxiety disorder, including post-traumatic stress disorder, bipolar disorder, psychotic disorder, substance abuse disorder, or another psychiatric condition not otherwise specified. So when we talk about perinatal mental health, when we talk about perinatal mood disorders such as depression, anxiety, OCD, they all have an impact on the body between the baby and the parent and the infant's health overall. So this is really important. I wanted to start off this conversation with talking about pre-existing traumatic experiences. As a doula, I see firsthand that women who have been sexually assaulted, that have experienced incest or molestation, rape, any type of traumatic event, literally have a hard time in their birth experience. And so I wanted to have Monique to really expound on this and what she sees in her practice as it relates to trauma and how trauma impacts your birth outcomes.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I encourage people who are considering motherhood to do the work of going to therapy beforehand, because trauma is an accumulating disorder often, especially in people of color, because we experience a wider variety of trauma than our, you know, majority counterparts. And so when you have a diverse range of trauma experiences, those reactions, your fight, flight, freeze, or fawn reaction, increases in the affects the body's reaction. And so if you think of it in terms of filling a cup of water, trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma will overflow. And so your body, in a natural reality of a traumatic experience, birth, however beautiful, however magical it is traumatic for the body. But if your cup is already full and you haven't released those cortisol hormones, you haven't lowered your physical response to the stress, that reaction can be even more intense. And so if you are preparing for birth and you have existing trauma, it's very important to think about how have I coped with that, and what strategies can I use to better prepare my physical reaction for the impending stress and trauma I'm getting ready to experience. So, and then in addition to that, some of those traumas are going to be specifically triggered by the birthing experience, physically being touched, being in that vulnerable state, the possibility of having to be paralyzed momentarily for a C-section. All of those things are potential triggers to past trauma. and you want to make sure that you are prepared for how your body will physically react to those experiences. So, prenatal therapy, I think everyone should have, no matter what your experience has been, so that you're prepared for what that reality is going to look like. And there are some professionals, there are some doulas, there are some OBGYNs that do a really good job of prepping folks beforehand. But unfortunately, the statistics will show that in our communities, a lot of us go into that uninformed, unprepared, and unsupported.
And Monique, I know you had this experience. I'm sorry, my apologies. Fontaine, I'm so sorry. I know that you had this experience specifically. You and I spoke that you were struggling with your mental health before you got pregnant. And when you got pregnant, it actually increased. So can you tell us a little bit about your experience?
So I come from a background of having mental health issues myself. That's the reason I do this, again, for everybody else to avoid what I went through. I attempted suicide twice at the age of 15, and just 4 years later, I got pregnant. So coming from a background of mental health issues and then going into having a baby so young, it caused me to like get into another depression that was a whole new depression for me. You know, I was in a different world again, being pregnant so young and not knowing what I was going to do. I didn't see that for my life. I went to a performing arts school. I was doing ballet since the age of 9, and you can't be on someone's stage pregnant, you know? So that put me in a whole different depression. Learning new things about my body, that's another thing. You know, things were going on that I'm like, okay, this is not normal. So yeah, when I had my baby, I went into another depression. I didn't feel pretty anymore. My body was different because, you know, here come the stretch marks. You know, being a dancer, your body has to look a certain way. And of course I gained weight. That was new for me. Of course, again, being so young, I was only 19, just graduated from high school. Like before I got pregnant, I had this tight body, you know, so I feel like everything overall, it was my youth that I felt like was ruined, you know, so that put me in another state of depression. It wasn't pretty. I dealt with postpartum depression really heavy to the point, and I can be honest now, I always tell people I don't sugarcoat, you know, that's my thing when it comes to me speaking. I don't sugarcoat things, and I say this now because it's my story. And of course, my daughter, she's about to graduate from high school in another year, so there was a situation where I couldn't get any sleep. And my mom was outside in her garden, and it was during the day, and my baby she was laying right next to me, and she was little. She kept crying, and I could not get any sleep. And again, like I said, I'm not ashamed to say this now, I literally almost hit her. And I still remember that day to today. And I picked her up and took her downstairs, and I walked outside to my mom's garden in my pajamas. I said, "You got to take her." And I told my mom right then and there, "I gotta get some sleep or I'm gonna go crazy." And you know, she took her, and I didn't see my daughter the rest of the day. She was downstairs with my mom, and I got some sleep. I'm blessed to have that support system, you know. But no matter how much money you have, no matter how much support you have, no matter your age, whether you're young having a baby or whether you're in your 30s or past the age of properly having a baby, 40, 45, it is heavy, it's hard. Like, again, the money doesn't make it any better either. It's not easy raising kids. It's not pretty all the time. Majority of the time, it's not pretty. There are good times, but majority of the time, it's going to be hell. You know, you come back out of it and you look back on things sometimes and you be like, "Oh my God, I remember that day. Oh my God, I was going through hell." But it's not always pretty. It's not. I think we have to be honest when it comes to, you know, being a parent. I don't want to just say mom. I just want to say being a parent. Like, Yeah, you do your announcement, you do your gender reveal, you have your baby shower, you do your little first pictures in the hospital with the little matching outfits. But when you go home, those people at that baby shower not gonna be there. So yeah, I just it was a lot of things that I had to just learn as I go, you know. Even though my mom was there, I still struggled, you know. But again, I was blessed to have an amazing support system.
Can I
Go ahead.
I just wanted to jump in real quick because I appreciate you talking about the sleep deprivation. There is a new diagnosis that is being introduced called postpartum depletion, and that is triggered by the sleep deprivation, the breastfeeding. You're literally getting your nutrients sucked out of your body on a daily basis, and that has an effect on your brain chemistry and you barely eat, and you know you're focused on that baby first, and your brain is losing nutrients. And have been case studies that show on an MRI that postpartum a woman's brain is shrinking. Okay, so you are literally losing yourself. And so people who are in the support system, please look for those signs. Look for opportunities to help that mother get some rest. Feed her, give her water, because the process of creating a life is physically so depleting that a lot of times we miss those signs in the magic of it. It's supposed to be this wonderful, happy moment. And for most of us, absolutely it is. But also a part of that is that this is a physical shift that's happening, and that requires medical and physical and psychological intervention. And that is not something that you can just say, oh, well, yeah, moms have been having babies on the plantation forever. She just gets up and works. No, that is trauma. That is dysfunction. We need to stop looking at Black women as if we are supposed to just drop babies and go back to work the next day. That is harmful to us physically, which is why our maternal mortality rates are so much higher. Is because that perception of Black women's ability to birth a baby and continue to work in the field has been a part of our storyline for 400 years. That was not how we were having babies prior to our enslavement, and that should not be the way that we're having babies post our enslavement.
Yes, yes, yes. That's so good.
I'm so sorry, but I feel like it's extremely important to say this. I'm the weird one at the baby shower, right? So when I go to baby showers, because I feel like people forgot about me when I had my daughter. It was all on her. It was all about her once I had her. So when I go to people's baby showers, I actually bring a gift for the mom. Because a lot of people forget about them and they need to be relaxed. So I always get something that she can use in the birthing at the hospital. You know, I always bring a gift for that because you want to make sure she's comfortable and things like that. I'm the only one that bring a different gift. So when the mom, they're opening her gifts, everybody's like, who it came from? Me. It's for the mama. Like everybody, you so focused on the baby, but we have to remember about the moms. We have to take care of her too. So I feel like it's extremely important when you do have a baby, the people, if you know anyone personally in your family that's close to you, having a baby, try to remember about the woman. And if she's going through something, like, yes, the baby's new, the baby needs attention, but she also needs attention too. She still wants to be loved. And I also, like my really close friends, when they have babies, I come over and clean the house. Or I come and cook them a meal because she can't her feet cooking. She's tired. She just had a baby. So I'll cook something, throw something in that crock pot, cook it for the whole family, come over and clean and spend a day with her. I don't want people to forget about the mom.
The old folks used to say, sit down somewhere, you're going to have a setback. Y'all remember that conversation? And that's exactly what that means. And I'm so glad that this has come up because so often we see moms returning back to work 6 weeks after she's had a baby. She returns to work, but sometimes the work starts as soon as she gets home if she has other children, right? And so this is one of the reasons why not only I'm a birth doula, but I'm also a postpartum doula. And a part of my role as a postpartum doula is to care for mom and baby. So while mom sleeps, I'm taking care of the baby. Also making sure that I'm cooking for mom because mom needs to eat to continue to produce the milk that she's producing. I actually had a call this morning with the mom that was stressed out because she's not able to keep up with her milk supply. And so after I went through my checklist, when I got to how much sleep are you getting? I'm not getting any sleep because I'm just so stressed. How's your anxiety? Oh my God, it's through the roof. So immediately I had to make sure that she had a protocol to reduce her anxiety. And then I also said, hey, I know you're nursing, but don't be afraid to get some organic formula. So you have to give her specifics, not just any formula, and supplement 1 or 2 bottles a day so that your milk can resupply while you sleep. She had to be told that it was okay to supplement because in her mind, I gotta make sure that my baby eats. I gotta make sure that my baby eats. But if you don't sleep, your body is not going to reproduce the milk that it needs to produce in order for your baby to be fed. So in other cultures, it's called the 4th trimester. In other cultures, families would come to the house and they'd wrap you up, right? Wrap your womb up. They'd make sure you had healing soups and tinctures, and they make sure you rest and that you stay warm, and they took care of you and baby. You were not to leave the bed. You sat down somewhere. But oftentimes in our communities, because we got this strong black woman thing going on, and our husbands have seen us be such strong black women for so long, they don't understand that you're at your most weakest, your most vulnerable place, especially if you've had a C-section, right? So it's really important to understand the severity of what we're talking about here because people are having babies every single day. One of the things you mentioned was your baby was so small. Here's another statistic, and I love statistics because I just think it brings weight to the conversation. That during pregnancy, depression can restrict the growth of the fetus, resulting in smaller babies and slower fetal growth. Clients who also suffer from prenatal depression, which is also called antenatal depression, you might hear it interchangeably, are also more likely to give birth prematurely and to a low birth rate baby. This is also an alarming statistic in our community. A lot of babies do not reach their first birthday. This is why SIDS, crib death, is all connected to the perinatal mood disorder. Everything that you see in the death outcomes all goes back to how that mother took care of herself in her prenatal period and how supported she was and how much she was able to take care of herself in her postpartum period. This is really, really serious, okay? Children of mothers who experience depression during pregnancy have a higher incidence of developmental delays. Hello, autism. Hello, all these issues with children. They're reading, not being able to comprehend accurately. They also suffer sleep disturbances. Babies won't stay asleep long. So mom is now dealing with, sleep deprivation, okay? And they're also more likely to be overweight in their adulthood. These pre-existing traumas are passed down generationally, and it's up to us to be educated and to be able to be the support that our communities need. I am my sister's keeper is what people used to say. I took it a step further. I am my sister. I am my sister. I want to just pause and see what else came up for you two, just for me sharing that bit of information.
Well, very quickly, I just wanted to talk about some of the signs to look for if you do have a person that is planning pregnancy, is pregnant, has just had a baby. What are the signs that you can look for that there is an issue that needs professional help? And so we've talked about some of the depression, inability to enjoy the baby, feeling frustrated about the baby very quickly, moments where the mother seems to be angry with the baby, times where she doesn't want to participate in picture taking, and not the typical, not to the on the point where it's like, oh, I've had enough pictures today, but she never wants to hold the baby, never wants to be photographed with the baby. Things like that are really, really important signs that need immediate attention. This is not, oh, you need to get over it. This is, how can I help you? What can I do right now in order to protect this woman and this baby? We talked a little bit about PTSD from the birth experience. as well as postpartum anxiety. Very uh, uh, clear startle response is overwhelming. You know, you walk in a room and she jumps, or she's constantly checking the baby, or she's crying because she's not making enough milk, and you know, oh, but they told me that there'll be nipple confusion, or I can't give formula, and there's just tears and there's emotions, and this person seems very, very anxious about every decision. That might need some intervention. Um, uh, Postpartum psychosis. We talked about the depletion. One of the side effects of not getting enough sleep, not having enough nutrition, not having the right nutrition, you may see that person start to hallucinate. They can't keep track of the days. They're very impulsive. It's the middle of the summer and this person is putting a sweater and a jacket on the baby before they go out. You know, things that seem unusual. Maybe they don't seem fully connected with reality in the moment. Those are signs that maybe some manic or psychotic issues are flaring up. Those are things that need immediate attention. This is not, oh, I'm gonna call your mama and them and we gonna pray over you. This is, okay, I'm gonna call the doctor and see if we can get you a referral for mental health support. This is, okay, this baby may not be safe during the day. I'm gonna take some days off and I'm gonna spend some time with you. You know, and I just wanna encourage everyone that is a caregiver to really look for those signs, because in the moment, moms have a lot of thoughts in their head, a lot of supposed tos, a lot of, oh, it's my job to, a lot of pressure on them to perform in certain ways, and they may not be able to ask for help in the ways that we conventionally think that help is supposed to be asked for.
So one thing I can say for myself, and I always give this advice to moms who are planning to have a baby or expecting their first baby. So when I had my daughter, even though I was 19, I had been a nanny throughout my teen years. So I was babysitting kids in my neighborhood. You know, got to make a little money for graduation. So, but what was different was I was carrying a baby now. Like, this is not somebody else's baby. When I have this baby, she got to come home with me. So I was, before I got pregnant, throughout school, I was a reader. So when I got pregnant, I was a reader. I was from book mom. So I'm like, okay, I want to learn about labor and delivery, what's going to happen to my body. My OBGYN, she loved me. She was like, oh my God, you a teen mom and you come. I used to come to my OBGYN appointments with 5 questions every time I had my appointments, all the way until I had my baby, because I wanted to know. So I just want to stress, ask your doctor the questions. They've seen it and heard it all. Listen to me, let me say that one more time. Your doctor has seen it and heard it all. There is nothing too embarrassing, nothing you can't say that will shock them. Ask your OBGYN the questions. She has the answers. And if she doesn't have the answers, I'm sure she has somebody she can refer you to. But make sure you're doing the research on anything you have questions about, but go in there and ask your doctor, especially if that's going to be the same doctor that delivers your baby. You want to make sure you're asking those questions about the day of, and if you have a scheduled delivery, a scheduled C-section, or you're going to be induced, or if you're going to have a doula. Ask your doula questions, call them. I'm for sure going to stop what they're doing and pick up the phone for you. You might be scared, you may not be, this may be your first baby, then this may be your third. But every pregnancy is different, every body is different, every baby is different. Have those questions ready. Do not be scared to ask. I want to say this also. I'm from Atlanta originally, but I was born in Chicago. But my daughter, she was born here, and she was born in Grady, so she's a real peach. It was really bad afterwards because she split me, really bad. So I was down for a while. I don't want to scare you. Okay. But it was really a bad situation to the point my mom almost wanted to sue Grady because she don't think they gave me good care while I was there. But I still asked questions. I still went to my 1-month checkup, and I still asked questions about healing and things I can do to heal faster. But my doctor always reminded me to take my time and let my body do what it was going to do, But all in all I'm saying is just ask questions when you go to the doctor. Like I said, Your doctor has seen it and heard it all. So ask the questions. That's extremely important.
And I really highly advocate for hiring a doula because there are things that your doctor will not tell you. And as your doula, I'm a member of your birth team, right? And what we do is we make sure that your outcomes, your birth outcomes, that you're in charge of your birth outcomes, right? There are certain positions that are better to birth in. There's ways that you can birth at home, right? There's also ways where you can labor at home and then go to the hospital, right? There's things that you can do in your prenatal period to help improve your birthing outcomes as well. And those are the things that your doctor will not prepare you for. And so we really want to advocate for hiring a doula, hiring a midwife to be a part of your team. You know, sometimes the OBGYNs are more medical practical, but midwives have more bedside manner and more care when it comes to working with a woman who is preparing for birth. So I want to make sure that I advocate for hiring a doula. That is really, really important. We also provide childbirth education as well, specific to you, okay? Specific to you, as well as lactation specialists as well. And so we're going to prepare for questions. So if you have questions, go ahead and prepare those now. But as I wrap up our panel discussion, I want to stress the importance of self-care. I understand that sometimes we cannot stop, but it is really important to your birth outcomes to take care of you, both while you're pregnant as well as in your postpartum period. And so do not be afraid to take care of you. Do not be afraid to reach out to someone and say, hey, I just need a minute. Sometimes you just need a few hours to yourself. That's it, right? And I love supporting moms in that way. I have moms say, I just need to sleep. I got you. I got the baby. And then I make sure that I document when the baby ate, what was there a wet diaper, was there a poopy diaper, all of those things, so you know exactly what happened. I'm taking pictures, I'm playing my guitar, I'm singing, I'm doing all kinds of stuff with the baby while the mom sleeps. And when mom wakes up, guess what? She has a nice meal, so she doesn't have to worry about cooking. And so that self-care piece is really, really, really important to improve your maternal health outcomes. Does anyone in the audience have any questions for us?
I do. I'm not having no more babies. Can you be my doula?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I got you.
You make it sound so good.
It's
I want that now.
I love being a doula.
Mom, I didn't speak up. Hold on. We'll pray your mic. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Testing. Oh, okay. First of all, thank you all so much. Like the gentleness just oozes off of you all. So that's really appreciative, especially in a space where you are inviting new life and honoring the life that is already there, that of the mother. My question is actually specifically for you, young lady. What is the process of becoming a doula? It's something that I've been interested in since my sister gave birth in 2014, and I missed it. I was at the hospital. We flew all the way back to LA, and I got there, and I was like, okay, they were like, okay, cool, you have time, go get something to eat. And I went because the plan was for us to be in the room. We won't talk about babies' fathers and things of that nature, but nevertheless, the family, we were going to be there to support. And so it was really important for me to be in the room, like for me to like be physically there for her while she was giving birth. And for whatever reason, we get the call, and she had my niece. She had woken my niece into the world, and I remember being so angry that I started crying, and my nose started bleeding because I was just that impassioned about it. So that was a moment where I started to recognize, like, wow, I think I have this capacity for compassion in a certain way, not just towards new life, but also women. And I don't often hear about male doulas. I think it'd probably be it's probably kind of taboo, and people are like, you're a weirdo. But I felt safe asking that question in this space that's like public and it's on record, so y'all know, like, oh, hey, back in the day, PJ Ben asked about this. So yeah, I just wanted to ask, because I'd love to learn about how to and just go through the process, and it won't be an overnight thing, but hey, Erykah Badu does it, so I'm like, and you are an excellent example, so just thank you.
Well, there are several community organizations that provide doula training, and I'll give you some of my personal ones offline so that I'm not advertising for one in particular, if you don't mind. But it is a certification That's usually about 20 to 40 hours of training. So on the birth side, you know, you can go through your training and certification. And then on the postpartum side, there's training and certification as well. Okay, and so I'll make sure to give you that information. And there is a gentleman called the Dad Doula. And so there are men out there that are doulas, and I'll make sure to connect you with those men that are doulas. I think it would add such strength to a room to be able to have a male, particularly someone who is birthing alone or doesn't have a partner, right? So we'll talk more about that specifically offline, but I'd love to support you in that capacity, and I'd love to have you as a part of my doula team as well.
Amen, amen. We'll take one more question, and this young lady in the back. And then we're about to bless you all with something real amazing. It's going to transform your lives.
Hi, ladies. Thank you so much for doing this. In a midwife, can you bring them to the hospital with you, or do you only need to have a doula and a midwife if you have a baby at home?
Yeah, so depending on if you have a doula, one of the things we do is we prepare you to do interviews with your hospital to learn what their policies are, okay? Usually with the midwife births at a specific hospital, okay? And so if you hire a midwife, she has relationships or she's able to practice at a specific hospital, so that's where you would actually birth. So I support midwives both in the birth center, at home, as well as in the hospital. I'm a member of your birth team, so what we would do is we would help you develop a birth plan that you would give to your practitioner that would be posted publicly in the hospital room so that the nurses know this mom wants this mom wants this, because guess what? They work for you. And we make sure that when you go into that hospital that you are in control at all times. We make sure that your partner is also in control in the event that you just out of it. Right? And so we make sure that he is also in control of the situation. We just sit back and support you as your cheerleader and your coach. So yes, we can be there.
Give it up for that. Amen. I didn't know that either. Thank you for that question, Linnell. All right, I may go have or make a baby later, just so I can. I'm not playing. Amen. Hey, you know. Anyway, all right. Give it up for these amazing sisters one more time. So before we close our event out with an amazing Peabody Award-winning spoken word artist, I want each one of these beautiful young ladies to tell us how we can connect with you. We'll start here.
So for me, you can follow me on all of the social medias at CFC Cares, or you can go to my website, which is www.comprehensivefamilycare.org, and you can reach out to me or one of the other therapists on our team if you think you would like to actually schedule some time to have a one-on-one.
And I am yourdivinedoula.net. Again, yourdivinedoula.net. Chai like the tea.
So you can find me on any platform, Fontaine Thompson. Trust me, I'm probably the only Fontaine you know. So it's easy to find me. You can Google me to find any of my social medias. It's spelled with a PH. Oh, my picture.
Oh, my bad.
It's spelled just like it sounds, but it's not an L. It's a PH. So Fontaine. And you can find me on any social media platforms. Just put in my first name and I'll probably trust you. I'm the first one that you see when you put in Fontaine.
Hey, give it up for these amazing young ladies one more time. Hey, check this out. As they get ready to transition, I want everybody stand up real quick. Everybody stand up real quick.